Today on Locked On Red Wings, we break down the acquisitions of Daniel Sprong and Christian Fischer.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fischer and Scotty Bentley. I'm a podcast producer for the Daily J, a WWJ News Radio podcast, while Scotty is host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And on today's episode, guys, we're going to briefly talk about Nate Danielson signing his 3-year ELC with the Detroit Red Wings, 9th overall pick. Going to go over Daniel Sprong, his fit with the organization, as well as Christian Fischer. Scotty, let's wrap right back around to Nate Danielson. Today, the 9th overall pick from the 2023 NHL draft signed his 3-year ELC with the Detroit Red Wings. There's not a lot to break down on this front other than the fact that they got it done pretty quickly after the Alex DeBrincat trade. As far as impact goes, yeah, he signed a 3-year ELC, but really it's kind of like a 5-year ELC.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And as far as timing goes, like trade or not, a handful of first round picks all signed on Wednesday, like a lot. Like I know Carlson signed his ELC on Wednesday as well. There was a pretty healthy amount of the guys put pen to paper on Wednesday. So yeah, not really anything crazy. Glad that they got it done as quickly as they did though. And yeah, man, looking forward to we'll try to keep tabs on really the rest of the draft picks is really the more the more, I don't know, not time sensitive, but the thing that we're going to be paying attention to a little bit more than him, because that one was kind of a layup.
Well, yeah, and the reason why I said it was like basically a 5-year ELC was because he's, as an 18-year-old, his options are either play in the CHL or play in the NHL, and I highly doubt he's going to make the jump right to the NHL this offseason, during training camp or preseason or whatever. He'll probably go and end up going back to being the captain of the Brandon Wheat Kings again, which in that case means the start of his contract can slide. And I believe due to his age, Prashanth tweeted this, but he wasn't completely sure, so don't take my word for it either. It can slide at least 1 year. It might be able to slide 2 years, given his age. So his contract, his 3-year ELC, might not even kick in until the start of the 25-26 season,
right?
Depending on how quickly he makes his way to the NHL, as a full-time player. So
the old 5-year ELC, baby.
The old 5-year ELC. So he's a slide candidate, and he'll be a slide candidate next year. I'm not ruling out, like, after his CHL season ends, he might get a look at the NHL. But who knows? I don't really quite 100% understand the relationship, the agreement between the CHL and the NHL. I don't know at what point he will become eligible to play in the AHL. I don't know if it's next season or the season after. I think, is it 20 years old? It might be. I'm not completely sure.
I don't know the X's and O's of it either, but I do know that really the biggest thing I'm just looking forward to, like, being able to keep tabs on him this year, just because this is obviously, we know and we're aware, we saw the box score and the numbers of everything that he put up in his draft year last season. So I'm kind of excited to see what he does in a full season this year after being drafted. And then, yeah, like you said, when we find out the exact relationship of everything, figure out where he goes next.
Yeah. So I just double checked right now while you were finishing up there. And if a CHL player is returned or sent down by an NHL team and they're between the ages of 18 and 19, they go back to the CHL club. So a CHL player cannot play in the AHL or ECHL until they're 20 or older.
Yeah,
that's the agreement. So that's why the next 2 years are slides for Nate Danielson, likely. But he's an early birthday. So early on next year, because his birthday is September 27th, 2004, he will be 19 by the time the season starts. So that probably means that next year he could play in the AHL, if I'm doing this correctly. So 1 more year of CHL hockey for him.
Yeah, right. I mean, and again, like we'll see kind of where he stands. I would imagine, first round pick that the goal would be for him to go from there straight to the A, but we'll see.
But the slide applies to him for both
sure.
those seasons, I believe.
For sure.
Anyway, Scotty, let's move into, do you want to do Daniel Sprong or Christian Fischer? I think Christian Fischer is going to be a pretty quick conversation, so we could save that to the end, like just dedicate as much time to Daniel Sprong as possible.
I think we do. I think we do Sprong first.
Sprong first. All right. So the Red Wings this offseason signed Netherlands native. I don't know. Have the Red Wings ever had a player from the Netherlands? That'll be a nice little trivia question that one of our commenters can answer.
Sure.
26-year-old Daniel Sprong. He can play right or left wing. He is a right-handed shot, 6 foot, 180 pounds. Signed to a 1-year, $2 million, not $200 million, $2 million deal.
Big money guy.
No trade clause. This is I really like this signing. You know what's funny is I keep comparing the offseason signings from this year to last year in my head and like finding like which signing this is the equivalent to. And in my head, this signing is the equivalent to like the Dominic Kubalik signing from last offseason. Taking a flyer on a young guy. Now the situation is a little bit different. Daniel Sprong had a breakout year with Seattle. And you're giving him, and he only played like fourth line minutes with Seattle all year long, despite scoring 20 goals. You're taking a flyer on a guy you think can have a huge upside. So it's like low risk, high reward. It's 1 year. You can flip him at the trade deadline if he's doing great, but the team's doing poor. Or you can extend him if he's doing great and the team's doing great. It's like either way, you can do something really nice. He's so young. He could kind of be malleable. Dominic Kubalik last year was a guy who was low risk, high reward. You signed him to a 2-year deal. He was having a bit of a down year after having an explosive rookie season with the Chicago Blackhawks. And you were looking at a situation where if he pans out, you can keep him, and if he doesn't, you can trade him. And Red Wings ended up trading him after he did have a pretty decent season. So like in my head, I kind of equate these two as just like low risk, potentially high reward acquisitions. And this is a really fun one. I really like this one, and I don't see much of a downside to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's a low risk signing for sure. I mean, this was absolutely, like you alluded to, a breakout season for him. First time in his entire career that he had over 10 assists in a season, and he ended with 25. Like this was the definition of a breakout season. Also had never reached 15 goals going into the year and ended with 21. So he puts up a 2020 season, ends with 46 points. Comfortably the best year of his career at only 25 years old on obviously an up and coming Seattle team. So yeah, that's the other thing is like this dude's pretty young. I mean, if he similar to I know it's different positional group, but like I compared a little bit. I don't even know if I should really say compare it to, but his future with the Wings, I guess I'll say, could have a similar tone to like Oli Mata, where like, hey, if it's a shorter term deal now, and by the end of it, if he ends up doing well and he hasn't completely just raised his value to a number that is too steep for a depth forward, then like there's no issue in extending him and bringing him back. I mean, this is again 46 points in 66 games while averaging under 11 and a half minutes of ice time a night. Like that's really, really solid production for a guy who's going to be a bottom six forward on your team. So yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting him necessarily to go out and repeat that immediately, but still a really solid production from a depth forward in, again, 66 games and like 11.25 average ice time, like a bottom six kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the insane part of it is the efficiency in which he scored. I mean, yeah. I don't understand. Seattle had a really good year last year, and I can understand not wanting to, fix what's not broken type situation. But there were 26 players who suited up for Seattle Kraken last year, and that includes all the guys who played like 6 or 7 games, but 26 total players suited up for the Seattle Kraken. He ranked 20th out of 26 in total ice time per game. Like you said, 11.25. You touched on that. In that amount of ice time, in that little amount of ice time, 45 points, 21 goals, like that. Just, again, I'm sorry, I'm echoing exactly what you said, but like, it just blows my mind. The level of efficiency that he had, that I can't believe that like Steve Yzerman was the guy who picked him up, because you look at that and you go, wow, this guy can really produce And now you'll see with maybe the Detroit Red Wings if you can do it in a little bit of a elevated role, because I'm sure he'll get middle 6 minutes with the Detroit Red Wings. But if not, like you put him back on the fourth line, 45 points from the fourth line is, I mean, that's hella depth right there.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we just talked about it yesterday, right? I think we're kind of assuming that he's going to be a third line. Like, I think he fits really well right exactly at the third line to start off the season at full health. So, but yeah, I mean, the versatility of knowing, like, hey, if somebody, you know, goes down in the top 6, that you have the versatility of putting a 20-20 guy up there and you're, you know, your second line. That's very, very good for depth. We talked about how much depth was addressed this offseason. And obviously, this is one of the kind of key signings to addressing that depth. But the other thing is, you know, special teams. I guess, well, we can kind of go to break. I know we're running a little behind here. And then, but like, this is a guy who produced at, again, career highs on the special teams for Seattle this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we're going to continue this conversation on Daniel Sprong and then move into Christian Fischer. But first, I got to talk to you guys today about AG1. This next partner you're going to want to use literally every single day. AG1 is the daily foundational nutrition supplement that supports whole body health. You got to drink AG1 literally every day because it is a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers comprehensive nutrients to support whole body health. AG1 replaces your multivitamin, probiotic, and more in one simple drinkable habit. Science-driven formulation of vitamins, probiotics, and whole food sourced superfoods. AG1 is raising the standard for quality in the supplement category, and it helps you build your health foundation first. If a comprehensive solution is what you need to your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/NHL network. Again, that is drinkag1.com/NHL network to check it out. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are talking about Daniel Sprong. Sorry about that pause there. I was writing down a note. And let's pull up Jay Fresh's card too, just so you guys can see. This is how, again, like not everyone thinks Jay Fresh's cards are super accurate, but I tend to like them quite a bit for what they are. I think they help show a good picture of what he can be. And you see here that 86th percentile projected WAR from this these last 3 years.
Fantastic.
A dip down in 21-22, but right back to efficiency in 22-23. You can see that this past year, again, he was like in almost the 90 percentile alone, and that his defense took a step up this last year as well. Not that it's still any like super high, but around 50% this past year, 39% weighted average across the last 3 years. Even strength offense, 77 percentile WAR, finishing 92 percentile, goals per 60, 97 percentile, assists per 60, 81 percentile. So like he provides a lot of offense. Defense leaves a little bit left to be desired, but he provides depth goal scoring, which is what this team needs. And I love this. I love this contract as just, again, I keep saying it, but low risk, potentially high reward.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, before the break there, like we were talking about special teams, and obviously there, I mean, 29% on the power play isn't some miraculous thing, and he's not going to come in and be a first unit power play guy, obviously. But if you need him as a, you know, winger on the second power play unit at some point this season, like I mean, a guy that 6 of his 21 goals were on the power play this year, and 8 of his 25 assists were on the power play this year. So I know that that's just like strictly kind of number counting, but not, you know, 14 points on the power play throughout the course of the season isn't awful either. So just really provides depth in a lot of areas. And I think that that's kind of the maybe not biggest reason, but I think that that's one of it's a really solid contribution to this team. Like the fact that he's going to be able to be third line, like we said, presumed, but he can move up to anywhere really in the middle 6, and you're not going to be too heartbroken about it. But, you know, bottom 6 forward, can move up and play second line if you really need to, can play special teams if you really need to, can play the power play. Like, yeah. And the biggest thing that he brings is obviously depth scoring.
What I really want to see here is if I can see his deployment, because it says he can play left wing or right wing. We know he's a right-handed shot, which is vital towards this Red Wings team. Right-handed shots are just so important. But I really want to know if his deployment was more offside, like DeBrincat and Perron, or if he plays his strong side, right side. But it doesn't look like that's going to be possible, because that's going to go a long way in a lot of these lineup cards is to find out where he's going to go. I would imagine Stevie would, after getting DeBrincat and already having Perron and then having Rasmussen and Fabry who play left wing as well, you'd probably want him to play right wing. But I just wanted to make sure. Either way, that doesn't really matter. He's going to provide an offensive pop to your middle six, maybe bottom six, if that's where they decide to put him. And I'm really looking forward to seeing if last year wasn't a anomaly for Daniel Sprong.
Right. Well, and again, like that's the biggest thing is he's going to have a little bit of a bigger role, we can presume, on this team than he had in Seattle. He was mostly playing a lot of fourth line with Seattle. Bottom six especially. So you can assume that he'll maybe get a little bit more ice time than he did last season, but he got less ice time last season than he's got pretty much any point in his career, and it was a career best. So, kind of a wild card. I don't think anyone's really expecting him to go out there and put up a 45 to 50 point season necessarily. But, if he can just provide, if he can put up a 15 and 15 or a 15 and 20 type of point production down there in the role that we brought him in for, I think that's a huge win.
Well, even if he regresses to the mean, right? He's had NHL seasons where he's had 15 goals. There's been a couple times where he's had 13 or 14 goals. That's fourth line scoring. Worst case scenario, he regresses back to that. Okay, you put him back on the fourth line and he's providing fourth line caliber offense.
Right, yeah.
But if he is what they think he is, and this 1 year deal ends up being a huge boon, then put him on the middle six. Let him score some more goals. Put him in a situation where he can succeed. I don't think there. Again, I talk about it. I don't think there's really any downside to the Daniel Sprong side signing right now, because worst case scenario, it doesn't work out and either deal him at the deadline or he walks at the end of the season. It's a win-win-win situation. And, we did the lineup predictions yesterday and we did struggle a little bit where to slot Sprong, but right now I'm pretty confident he's going to play right wing on either your second or your third line, right?
Yeah. I think he's the slam dunk right side third liner, and I think we put him there yesterday if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we might have put him on left, actually. I don't remember, but regardless, I think he's kind of the slam dunk third line winger, as it stands right now. Again, middle of July, a lot can change, a lot will change, but I think right now it's really a no-brainer, and I think that's a great spot for him. Again, if he's putting up somewhere between 13 and 18 goals and about the same amount of assists, that's a massive win for compared to what you have been getting out of your wingers, in the bottom six for the last few years. That's a massive step in the right direction. And then, like you said, win-win for not only the franchise, but for him too. If he builds off of what he did last season, then he goes into a much better free agency with more cap space and can get himself a bag. So good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had him on the third line because Raymond's your second line right winger.
Yeah.
And I think that's appropriate for him. Give him a better opportunity to see if he can keep doing that. Let's take a quick break, I guess. I know it's a little early, but we'll take another quick break. And when we come back, we'll move on to talk about Christian Fischer and just wrap up the conversation there. Do you have any final thoughts before I go into break on Daniel Sprong?
No, love it though. Sneaky, one of my favorite signings of the summer.
Oh, I did have a final thought. I completely forgot to bring it up. But he led the team at 5-on-5 in expected goals for percentage relative. He was so good with the Seattle Kraken this last year. In 66 games played, he had a 5.69 expected goals for percentage relative. So I just, that's incredible.
Very.
Led the team in that from the fourth line with 45 points. And I think he was his expected goals for percentage overall was just killer. I think it was 50. Yeah. Again, led the team 56.67. So more shots for the team he was playing for than shots against. And that is something that this team desperately needs. So, okay, now we'll get to a break. I just wanted to mention that before we moved on. Got to talk to you guys today about Birddogs. I told you about them yesterday. I'm going to say it again. Scotty, you happen to be wearing?
I am not wearing them. I'm not wearing them currently. I was yesterday.
Embarrassing. He's not wearing them 2 days in a row.
It's embarrassing.
Can't believe you wash your clothes
every single day.
I can't believe you wash your clothes. Just embarrassing, man. But Birddogs are killer, guys. I absolutely love them. Scotty absolutely loves them. Can't endorse them enough. They are just super comfortable. They're super lightweight. They're super breezy. You can wear them in any situation. I say that time and time again. They're basically one size fits all. You can get them at different length inseams as well. I wore them. I had to do a double take the day I proposed. I had to decide whether or not I wanted to wear them because they were so comfortable.
That would have been an endorsement.
They look so nice that I was like, I wonder if I can get away with them. But I decided to, actually dress up like full tilt, But
probably not a bad call.
That's how comfortable they are. That I thought about wearing them to my proposal. I did wear them in the lake because they can double as a bathing suit. I wear them to the gym because they can double as gym wear. Or you can wear them at home or on dates. I have done the date with them before because they do look really nice and they're really comfortable. So they are. What the definition of versatility is what Birddogs are, and they're comfortable as well. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL to enter promo code LockedOnNHL for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL or promo code LockedOnNHL for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't take your Birddogs off. We promise you. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast.
You won't want to take your Birddogs off. We are not promising that you will never take them off. That's a scary promise right there. We promise you won't want to. There's a very key word.
What did I say?
You said, we promise you won't take your Birddogs off. You forgot the word want, which is a very important word in that sentiment. You cannot promise people that they won't take clothes off.
But that's how strong the endorsement is. Like, really? Not even that they won't want to. They physically can't. They're just glued.
There you go.
Ridiculous. All right, Scotty, let's talk about Christian Fischer. Now, this is the guy that has me scratching my head the most. A depth signing through and through. Screams 13th forward to me. He played 80 games with the Arizona Coyotes this past year, and he had 27 points, 13 goals, 14 assists. Not bad production for, a bottom six guy. But on the Red Wings, which it's hard, I can't believe I'm saying this, which is a better team than the Coyotes. Not a lot of teams you can say that about. I just felt as if it wasn't necessarily necessary for them to sign this guy. And it screams to me that the only reason they signed him is kind of to replace Pius Suter's role in the penalty kill. Because that's what he is. He is a penalty kill specialist.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I love the signing. I think that it adds any time you can add depth. Like, do you remember last summer in like August, we had conversations about how much better the depth was from 2 years ago's team, right? And we were like, wow, like, look at this. We went out, we brought in all these people. Like, this is a really solid offseason. The depth is so good. And then like 3 injuries happened. And by December, we were like, wow, this team is so thin. And you know what I mean? Like, it's so shallow across the board. And all the depth we were talking about and bragging about early in the year and at the end of the summer is now completely gone. And it's not true. This is a signing to somewhat, prevent that from happening again. And obviously, Christian Fischer's not going to replace like Larkin or something and like match production or whatnot. But as a 13th forward, I think you could do a whole heck of a lot worse. This is a dude that pushed a 15-15 season last year with the Arizona Coyotes, had 13 goals and 14 assists. And as you said, as a penalty kill specialist, is a pretty solid defensive forward. Like I'm not sure he's going to play 80 games again, but I think that this is a perfect 13th forward. Like I truly think he's like the prototype for a 13th forward. I think he's like exactly what you want. If he plays full time, he'll get you around 15 goals. He's going to be solid enough defensively. He can play special teams if you need to. Like he's pretty much the perfect 13th forward in my eyes. And I think that that's what they brought him in to do. And if the team stays fully healthy or close to fully healthy throughout the course of the season, then like best case scenario is probably that he doesn't play like too terribly often, but injuries inevitably will happen. And so, yeah, I don't know. I actually really like this move for depth purposes and depth is beyond vital and something that the last 2 years has run thin very, very quickly for the Red Wings.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it here. JFresh's 3-year weighted average data, his projected WAR is 30%. You do see here on the graph to the far right that his projected WAR did take a pretty large step in the right direction in 2022-23, and maybe that's another reason why Steve Yzerman gave him the 1-year, $1.3 million deal. Again, 26 years old, he can play right side or left side, so there's versatility in there, and Steve Yzerman loves to sign his young guys. So, I mean, it's just another taking a flyer on a guy, hoping that, his production can take a step in the right direction while providing much needed, defense, penalty kill. So we'll see. This is the thing is I don't know a lot about Christian Fischer, so I don't have a lot to say about Christian Fischer. I just basically what I can say is what I'm parroting from what I've read online is that he's going to play penalty kill and, he'll probably play fourth line minutes. He might not play at all. So we'll see. At the very least, he is, what you're getting. He's going if he plays 80 games with the Red Wings, what you're getting every single night because he's consistent in that.
Right. And I think that's why you got him, because the Wings still have forwards on the bottom six that you can't say that about. There are still several forwards on the bottom six on this team that you absolutely can't say what you're going to get out of on a night-to-night basis. There's a lot of young players that are still trying to take steps forward or that are, have kind of been iffy, like development wise. I mean, I know Veleno's a center and not a winger, but like the sentiment remains like if Veleno were to get healthy at some point, like then, they'd find someone else to play winger or center rather, and that open up a spot for Fischer. You know what I mean? Like this is that's exactly why they brought him in, because they know the type of player he is, that everybody knows exactly what they're going to get out of him on a night-to-night basis. And A, injuries happen. It's hockey. He's going to play. And B, there's still a lot of younger forwards that you can't say that about, that what you're going to get out of him on a night-to-night basis in July especially. It
does make me a little nervous to look at his expected goals for percentage relative and see he's a negative 8.18, which is near the bottom of the team, bottom 10 of the team. They had 34 different players suit up in the Coyotes uniform last year, and he ranks 23rd amongst them. But a lot of those guys on that list have played like less than 10 games. So you really would narrow that list down to like the actual 23, and he's very near the bottom of that list. And that just, I mean, to have a negative 8.18 relative on a bad Coyotes team, because relative is his individual impact. People got to remember that. To have that negative of an individual impact on an already bottom of the league team does give me pause. But I'm not going to write him off yet because, we'll see what he can do with the Detroit Red Wings and the opportunities he's given. I'm really curious how much, obviously, at him being a penalty kill specialist, I'm really curious how many minutes overall he got compared to his teammates on the penalty kill. So I'm looking that up really quick here. He played the fourth most amount of penalty kill minutes on the team, only behind Patrick Nemeth, former Red Wing, JJ Moser, Josh Brown. And all three of those guys are defensemen. So he played the most penalty kill minutes of any forward on the Arizona Coyotes. So that is nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, last season he was a third or fourth liner, depending on the night, and yet almost played 15 minutes a night because he was logging so many penalty kill minutes for the Coyotes. So, like, yeah, definitely his thing for sure.
I mean, there you have it, right, guys? So, like Daniel Sprong, we expect to be middle six. Christian Fischer, fourth line, maybe 13th man, depends on the situation. Nate Danielson signs his ELC. There's the episode. Boom. You have any final thoughts, man?
We ball.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow. I'll probably cover those goalies. We haven't talked about Reimer or Lyon yet. Yeah. And then we go into off-season mode.
Sweet.
I was waiting for any kind of response. So we go into off-season mode starting next week, which generally means 3 episodes a week. But because we skipped recording on the 4th of July, next week we'll have 4 episodes. But after next week, down to 3 until whenever the season starts back up, late August, early September, one of the two.
Sounds great to me.
Cool. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow, guys. We ball, Scotty?
We ball.
We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow. I just said that. Same time, same place.
A new
Your
episode
team.
Tomorrow, guys.
Every day.
Every day.